You weren't looking for love. You know where you stand and what's your worth. You are very happy. But then she appeared, and suddenly your days started feeling different. You wake up to her notification, sleep after your last conversation with her. Your mood starts depending on whether she replied or not. At first it feels harmless, just conversations, just jokes, just two people talking. But then she starts remembering things. Your favorite song, the thing you said about your childhood once at 1 a.m., the insecurity you tried to laugh off. And that's when it happens. Your brain begins creating a relationship. Before the relationship even exists, you start imagining future conversations, future dates, future moments. And the dangerous part is, it feels real, because emotionally, it is real. The late-night talks, the attention, the emotional intimacy, none of it was fake, which is exactly why it hurts so much later. One day you finally decide to say something, maybe not directly, maybe just enough for her to understand how you feel. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Wait, I thought we were just friends. That sentence has confused more men than heartbreak itself, because now your brain starts replaying everything. The long calls, the compliments, the fast replies, the deep conversations. You think, how can someone act interested without being interested? But that question comes from a misunderstanding almost everyone makes. Not every emotional connection is romantic. And sometimes, two people can experience completely different relationships inside the exact same conversation. Psychologists have studied this for years. Not types of women in some childish way, but emotional patterns. Different people connect differently, express affection differently, need attention differently. And if you don't understand those patterns, you'll keep falling in love with people who are never standing in the same emotional reality as you. The first pattern is the emotional connector. You've probably met someone like this before. She makes everyone feel seen. She remembers tiny details, checks up on people randomly, replies with warmth, laughs fully, listens carefully. She'll say things like, "Tell me when you get home safe." And somehow, that single sentence stays in your head for 3 days. Being around her feels intimate, not because she's flirting intentionally, but because emotional closeness is simply how she exists. She tells you things she says she's never told anyone. She sends voice messages instead of dry texts. She makes ordinary conversations feel personal. And eventually, you start believing, this has to mean something. But here's the painful truth. For some people, emotional openness is friendship, not romance. She wasn't pretending to love you. You were interpreting emotional intimacy as romantic certainty. And when lonely people finally feel understood, they attach fast. The second pattern is the mirror. This type is dangerous because she feels perfect for you. If you joke around, she becomes playful. If you get deep, she gets philosophical. If you flirt subtly, she reflects it back just enough to keep you wondering. Talking to her feels effortless, almost too effortless. You start thinking, she's exactly like me. But psychologically, humans naturally trust people who mirror their behavior. It creates instant familiarity. That's why conversations with her feel addictive. She matches your humor, your energy, your emotional tone. And without realizing it, you start projecting compatibility onto her. But sometimes the connection disappears the moment you stop giving attention, because some people aren't showing you who they are. They're reflecting who you are. And honestly, that hurts in a very specific way, because you don't just miss them. You miss the version of yourself you became around them. The third pattern is the drifter. This is the one that destroys people emotionally. One week she talks to you non-stop. Double texts, fast replies, late-night vulnerability. You think, finally, this is becoming real. And then suddenly, nothing. Dry responses, distance, coldness. It feels like emotional whiplash. But the worst part is, Every time you start moving on, she comes back again, and your brain becomes trapped in uncertainty. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive, because unpredictable affection creates stronger emotional attachment than consistent affection. You keep chasing the version of her you met during those intense moments, the girl from the late-night conversations, the girl who made you feel chosen. But stability never arrives. And slowly, you stop falling in love with reality. You fall in love with potential. The fourth pattern is the guarded one. She's difficult to read, careful with emotions, slow to trust, rarely vulnerable. And ironically, this often becomes the person people obsess over the most, because humans value emotional scarcity. The less validation she gives, the more meaningful it feels when she finally does. A single compliment from her feels worth more than attention from anyone else, and your brain mistakes emotional difficulty for emotional depth. But those are not the same thing. Someone being hard to reach doesn't automatically make the connection special. Sometimes they're just emotionally unavailable. Now here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Most heartbreak doesn't come from rejection. It comes from confusion, from mixed signals, false hope, unspoken expectations, from building emotional futures inside your mind while the other person is simply enjoying the present. And the lonelier you are, the faster this happens. Because when you rarely receive affection, attention starts feeling like love. A good morning text feels important. A late-night conversation feels intimate. Basic kindness starts feeling extraordinary. And suddenly, you're emotionally attached to someone who never actually promised you anything. That realization hurts, because maybe she did care about you. Maybe the connection was real, just not in the same way you imagined. And that's the part nobody teaches you. Someone can deeply enjoy your presence without wanting a future with you. Someone can care about you without choosing you romantically. And yes, that can completely break a person. But understanding these emotional patterns changes something important. You stop asking, "How do I make her love me?" and start asking, "What is this connection actually built on?" Loneliness, validation, attention, fantasy, chemistry, convenience, or genuine compatibility. Because real compatibility is not just emotional intensity, it's alignment. Two people wanting the same thing, at the same time, in the same way. And maybe the hardest lesson of all is this: she wasn't the love of your life. She was the person who revealed how emotionally hungry you had become.